On the day of childbirth, my husband and mother-in-law bribed the midwife. They planned to take the baby and leave me behind. They would get my dowry and marry his childless young lover, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. But what they didn't know was that I had also bribed my husband's personal servant. Once the baby was born, he would get drunk with joy and fall into the pond, drowning to death. It was the perfect plan to leave the son and take the mother. After all, who wouldn't want to live as the mistress of a marquis's mansion, with a dead husband, a son, and a fortune? Welcome to my channel. If you like this story, please click to subscribe. There are more wonderful stories waiting for you to listen to. Chapter 1. In the 2nd year after I married into the Yongin Marquis's mansion, I became pregnant. Congratulations to the old lady and the Marquis. The lady is with child. Upon hearing the doctor's words, everyone was overjoyed. My mother-in-law, who had never liked me, pulled my hand affectionately, her face beaming with joy. I knew Ayu was a lucky girl. She looks like she'll be a good mother. From now on, you don't have to do anything. Just rest and give me a healthy, strong son. Qi Zhao, who had always looked down on me for being vulgar and money-obsessed, also smiled at me. You've worked hard. I smiled faintly, lowered my head to look at my abdomen, and unconsciously raised my hand to touch it, asking, "Doctor, can you tell if this child is a boy or a girl?" The doctor looked at me and said with difficulty, "It's still too early to tell. But judging from the dark circles under the lady's eyes and her recent difficulty sleeping and eating, this child is most likely a boy. The first 3 months of pregnancy are the most critical. The fetus is only just full term now. The lady must take good care of herself." I thanked the doctor, then instructed the maid Jean Zhu to give him some silver as a token of our gratitude. I then looked at Qi Zhao with love in my eyes. "Husband, we finally have a son. From now on, I won't be able to serve you. Why don't I take a concubine for you?" Qi Zhao was startled for a moment but quickly recovered, taking my hand with a sincere expression. "My lady is generous. But since I have married you, I must keep my promise and not take a concubine. You should rest and take care of the baby." I smiled faintly and lowered my head to hide the mockery at the corner of my lips. He wasn't keeping his promise not to take a concubine for my sake. He was clearly afraid that if he took one, his beloved cousin would cause trouble with him. That night, Qi Zhao was in a good mood and stayed in my room. At midnight, a servant knocked on the door. "Lord Qi, there's been an incident with the case in the western part of the capital. You must go immediately." At this hour, Qi Zhao would usually leave me behind and go straight out. But today was different. Before Qi Zhao could get up, I stood up first and handed him his outer robe. "Lord Qi, please go quickly. The case is urgent. I'll wait for you at home with the child." I emphasized the word children, and a flash of guilt crossed his eyes as he was about to stand up. I suddenly clutched my stomach and let out a low, pained groan. "Ugh." He furrowed his brows, looked at my abdomen, paused with the coat in his hand, and instead reached out to support me. "Is something wrong with your stomach? I'll go call the doctor." This was Qi Zhao's first child. He couldn't afford any mistakes. I waved my hand, leaned against the bed rail, and sat down, my lips slightly pale. "It's nothing. Your Excellency has important matters to attend to. Jean Zhu has already gone to fetch the doctor. He'll be here shortly." Qi Zhao cast a complicated glance at me, then sat down beside the bed after a long moment. "It's not a big deal. We can go tomorrow." Seeing that I had calmed down a bit, he added, "Now that you have a child, I'll stay home and take good care of you during this time." I happily agreed, leaning into his embrace, looking both surprised and delighted. The next day, I used the same method to keep Qi Zhao for lunch before letting him leave. watching him hurry off to handle his case. I couldn't help but smile. I was just pretending to be naive and not holding a grudge. But he actually thought I was a fool. When Qi Zhao was still a prince, he had a beloved cousin named Lin Wanbai. She was the second daughter of the earl's mansion. And they had grown up together. A perfect match in every way. One day, while they were out on a picnic together, they were ambushed by bandits. In the fight, Lin Wanbai sacrificed herself to save Qi Zhao, taking an arrow in the abdomen. As a result, she was unable to have children for the rest of her life. In noble families, continuing the family line is of utmost importance. A woman who cannot bear children is absolutely forbidden from entering the Marquis's mansion, especially since the Marquis's mansion had only Qi Zhao as their sole heir. Thus, Lin Wanbai could only watch helplessly as Qi Zhao married me. Though they couldn't be together openly, they often met in secret. The secret code for their meetings was the word case mentioned by the servant. Jin Zhu watched Qi Zhao leave the courtyard, unable to hide her excitement. "Lady, this is the first time the Marquis has stayed so long at your place. With this child, the Marquis will come to your courtyard more often, and our good days are finally here." I looked at Jin Zhu but did not respond. The foolish girl was daydreaming. This child was not a sign of good days but a death sentence. As long as I give birth to a son, Qi Zhao will kill me and marry Lin Wanbai into the household. My name is Chu Yu, the daughter of a wealthy merchant from the Jianghuai region. Originally, someone of my status would never have been able to marry into the Marquis's mansion. But that year, a major incident occurred in the capital. The emperor discovered a deficit of over 4 million taels of silver in the Ministry of Revenue, all embezzled by officials over the years. The emperor was furious and ordered that all those involved must repay the debt within 6 months, or else their titles would be stripped. The Yong'an Marquis's mansion was also on the list, and the amount owed was substantial, a full 120,000 taels of silver. All that money had been squandered by the Marquis's family over the years, and the Qi family could only scrape together 10,000 taels of silver. So, someone came up with a plan for the Marquis's family, an arranged marriage. Isn't the Jianghuai region full of wealthy merchants? Just find any family to marry into. Fill the gap first. And once this matter is settled, find an opportunity to secretly dispose of this unsatisfactory bride and marry into another family. Jianghuai is teeming with wealthy merchants. But my family can only rank third. Originally, the Marquis's mansion wasn't even in line for an alliance. But the first two families refused to send their daughters to the capital to marry into the Marquis's mansion. This was because the former richest family in Jianghuai had once married their daughter into the Rongwa Gongfu, only to have her murdered within 3 years. Not only were their assets seized, but the Rongwa Gongfu also framed them, leading to the destruction of their family. With that precedent, everyone avoided the Marquis's mansion's marriage proposal. Only I, upon seeing Qi Zhao come to propose marriage, lit up and hurriedly stopped my father, who was about to refuse, and said firmly, "Father, your daughter is willing to marry into the Marquis's mansion." The marriage was thus arranged on the spot. Afterward, my father pulled me aside, furious. "Ah, you are my most outstanding daughter. I had planned to entrust the family estate to you. Why marry that worthless Marquis's mansion?" "What worthless Marquis's mansion?" "That is the stepping stone I carefully selected. There are many families in the capital seeking alliances for money, but only the Marquis's mansion aligns with my intentions. The old Marquis is on his deathbed, and Qi Zhao is the sole heir of his family. The title is within reach. Once I marry into that family, I will eventually become the wife of the Marquis. Father, do you think that by refusing the Marquis's mansion and continuing to run our business honestly, everything will be settled?" I looked at him. Once these noble families recover from this crisis, where will they go to get money? Among the 4 classes of society: scholars, farmers, artisans, and merchants. Merchants are at the bottom. If one has wealth but no power to protect it, they will become the fat sheep others prey on. It would be better for me to marry into the Marquis's mansion, secure my position as the wife of the Marquis, and become the family's pillar of support. But the Marquis's mansion is a den of tigers and dragons. How could they possibly let a merchant's daughter become the mistress of the house? He sighed helplessly. I've had someone investigate Qi Zhao. He's infatuated with the second young miss of the Earl's mansion. If you marry into that family, you'll probably... Ah. I clenched my father's hand and smiled determinedly. Just wait. Father. The position of mistress of the Marquis's mansion is mine. 3 months later. It was the 80th birthday of the old matriarch of the Guogongfu. I represented the Marquis's mansion to present a painting titled 10,000-Year Pine by the contemporary Confucian scholar Guyu. As soon as I sat down, I heard someone snort across the table. A mere merchant's daughter? How could she have a painting by Master Gu? It's probably a fake. Following the sound, I raised my eyes and saw a woman across from me covering her mouth and laughing at Lin Wanbai. It was Su Shuer, Lin Wanbai's close friend. Judging by her attitude, she was about to speak up for Lin Wanbai and humiliate me. I didn't get angry and looked at her kindly. Miss Su claims this painting is a fake. Then please tell us. Who copied this painting? Which original did they copy? And where did I purchase it? She hadn't expected me to counter her, and she was momentarily flustered. I don't buy fake paintings. How would I know any of that? I dropped my smile, my expression turning sharp as I stared at her. Since Miss Su can't explain, why did you insist that I don't have a genuine painting by Master Gu and that it's a forgery? Su Shuer grew even more flustered, twisting her fingers nervously and glancing toward Lin Wanbai, hoping she would intervene. But Lin Wanbai pretended not to notice. So Su Shuer had no choice but to continue. Master Gu is a renowned scholar of our time. His paintings are only sold to those with a special connection. You're just a merchant's daughter. How could you possibly? Why can't I? I interrupted her. My father's business spans the entire Qing kingdom. He loves to travel and happened to meet Master Gu, who gave him this painting of the longevity pine. What's wrong with that? You're just making excuses. How could Master Gu possibly look down on someone as lowly as you? Su Shuer hurriedly defended herself. Silence. The old lady's maid interrupted her. Lady, watch your tongue. This is the lady of the Marquis of Yolin, not some merchant's daughter you keep calling her. Su Shuer glared at me with hatred, then huffed at Lin Wanner and sat down in shame, tears streaming down her face. I stood up and bowed to the old matriarch seated at the head of the table to express my gratitude. This old matriarch had once had a connection with old Master Gu, but they ultimately did not end up together. She could tell at a glance whether this painting was an authentic piece. As for Su Shuer, she was a fool, easily manipulated by Lin Wanner. As for Lin Wanbai, she was also an impatient person. I had merely deceived Qi Zhao into believing the painting was a forgery. Yet she was eager to use this matter to suppress me and ruin my reputation. It seemed that the day I had diagnosed her pregnancy and kept Qi Zhao, she had already felt threatened. After the banquet ended, I was about to leave when I encountered Lin Wanbai on the way. To be precise, she was chasing after me. She stared at my belly with jealousy, gritting her teeth. My cousin-in-law is truly blessed to have conceived so quickly. But childbirth is like passing through the gates of hell. I wonder if you have the fortune to give birth to the child and raise it. These words were utterly malicious. Almost a direct curse for me to die. I stopped in my tracks and looked at her, smiling faintly. Don't worry about me, cousin. I have a fortune, so I'll hire the best doctors and midwives. Having a child is no problem at all. As for you, cousin, you're already an old maid and still haven't married. If you keep delaying, You'll end up being someone's second wife. She was stung by my words, glared at me fiercely, then seemed to think of something and smirked. At least I'm better off than my cousin, who married a man who doesn't love her and spends his days running around outside. Though I haven't married, there's someone who truly loves me and keeps me in his heart. I was taken aback. Was she confessing? I retorted without mercy. Cousin, you're right. Your beloved does truly love you and meets with you in secret. He probably wouldn't care that you can't have children. But why hasn't he proposed to marry you yet? Infertility was Lin Wanbai's Achilles heel. It was precisely because of this that she had been rejected by the Yong'an Marquis's mansion. She was enraged by these words, trembling with anger, and rushed forward to strike me. You wretch! She screamed. Jin Zhu acted quickly to stop her, but Lin Wanbai raised her other hand to strike again. I immediately knelt down, clutching my stomach and crying out in pain. Miss Lin, I have done nothing to you. Why are you trying to harm my child? My cries drew the attention of those around us. Lin Wanbai panicked. She was jealous of me, but she dared not harm my child. No, it wasn't me. I didn't do anything. Just as she was at a loss, Qi Zhao suddenly appeared out of nowhere, picked me up, and walked out with me in his arms. As he left, he shot Lin Wanbai a withering glance. I saw that look clearly. It was a blatant warning. I didn't miss the opportunity either, giving Lin Wanbai a triumphant look that drove her mad with anger. After that day, Qi Zhao didn't go to see Lin Wanbai for a while. He truly wanted a child and couldn't afford any mistakes. His coldness toward Lin Wanbai was meant to tell her that she couldn't touch this child. But in Lin Wanbai's eyes, this behavior meant that Qi Zhao had changed his heart. So when she found out that Qi Zhao had skipped their engagement anniversary to celebrate my birthday, she couldn't hold back anymore. She rushed into the Marquis's mansion without hesitation. She deliberately wore the same dress she had worn when she had shielded Qi Zhao from an arrow. And upon seeing him, she bit her lower lip, widened her eyes, and let tears stream down her cheeks, looking like a delicate flower in the rain. Qi Zhao, who was standing beside me, was also deeply moved. He immediately let go of my hand and stared at her in shock. It seemed as though he was about to rush forward and embrace her. The guests at the banquet were all shrewd individuals. They looked at me, then at the two of them, and instantly understood what was happening. The atmosphere became unusually tense. A few gossipy noblewomen began to whisper among themselves. I pretended not to notice their affair and tried to smooth things over. My cousin has arrived. Come over and sit down. It's rare that you took the time to come to my birthday banquet. After saying that, I had someone add more seats and personally pulled Lin Wanbai to sit down. Su Zhao finally snapped out of it, looking at Lin Wanbai with a hint of annoyance, as if blaming her for coming without permission and almost causing him to lose face. After a few rounds of wine, I noticed the empty seats beside me and the newly added ones. So I excused myself, claiming I couldn't drink anymore. As I passed by the artificial hill, I heard rustling sounds coming from inside. Jin Zhu also heard it and thought it was two immoral servants and maids. She was about to go up and scold them, but I pulled her back and silenced her. All we could hear was the sound of heavy breathing from behind the rockery, followed by a woman's voice scolding. I thought you had changed your heart now that you have a child. If I hadn't taken the arrow for you that day, I could have been the one carrying your child. The man's voice was heavy with breath as he replied. No. I will always love only you. But you should avoid causing trouble with Chuyu for now. We need this child. I've already bribed the midwife. If it's a boy, I'll smother her with a pillow. Jin Zhu was so shocked that she widened her eyes, covered her mouth with both hands, and trembled all over. Their conversation continued. But I'm just jealous. Every time I think about how you neglected me for that lowly merchant's daughter, I feel so hurt. What's there to feel hurt about? Once she's dead, I'll marry you, and the son will be raised under your care. I didn't hear the rest of the conversation, it was all filthy language. But his plan was so similar to mine. I had already bribed Qi Zhao's personal attendant. Once the son was born, I would make him drink himself into a stupor with joy and accidentally drown him in the pool. It was the perfect plan to leave the child without a father. I guess I need to revise my plan. If I hadn't died that day, Qi Zhao probably wouldn't have been in the mood to drink. As I walked along, lost in thought, I found myself back at the Jinshu garden where I lived. Seeing me back in the courtyard, calm and composed, writing a letter, Jinju couldn't sit still. She paced back and forth in front of me, stamping her feet. I glanced at her but ignored her, continuing to write until I had filled an entire page. Only then did I pick up the paper and blow on it. Jinju, look. Isn't my handwriting beautiful? She grabbed my hand anxiously and said, Miss, how can you still have the heart to write? Your fiancé's trying to harm you. Seeing her expression, I couldn't help but smile. What are you afraid of? Jinju? Misfortune may bring good fortune, and good fortune may hide misfortune. You must believe in your mistress. But, shoo. I placed my index finger on my lips to silence her. Don't speak of unlucky things. Jinju, you've been with me for so long. Have you ever seen me fail in a business deal? She lowered her head and thought for a moment. No. So, don't worry. This is just a big business deal. After speaking, I folded the letter neatly and slipped it into her hands. Find someone to send it by fast horse. Make sure it reaches my father's hands. She took the letter with both hands, suddenly understanding. So you had this planned all along, Miss. I nodded with a smile, and she finally relaxed, running off in a flash. A breeze blew past, rustling the leaves. The ginkgo tree in the courtyard was suddenly shrouded in a large shadow. I gazed at the sky, where a dark cloud had just drifted by, blocking the sun. It was going to rain. Qi Zhao's reassurances behind the rockery had worked. Lin Wanbai didn't cause any trouble afterward. My belly grew larger day by day, and soon it was time for me to give birth. To ensure everything went smoothly, Qi Zhao had already arranged for 2 midwives to stay by my side at all times, even accompanying me to the restroom. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly, but on the surface, I wore a grateful expression. My husband is truly kind to me. I received a letter from my father today, saying that he and my mother are coming to the capital to visit me. They should arrive in about 2 days. Qi Zhao was taken aback. Your father and mother are coming? Yes. They want to be with me during childbirth and see their grandson. Qi Zhao remained silent, lost in thought. That evening, after drinking the pregnancy-sustaining medicine, I was overcome by excruciating abdominal pain and was immediately locked in the delivery room. In a daze, I looked around and saw that the room was filled with my husband and his mother's people. Even Jinju was barred from entering. Jinju! Jinju! I need Jinju to stay with me, I shouted. Outside the door, Jinju was also shouting to come in, but her voice grew fainter and fainter. I heard Qi Zhao say, Madam, please give birth safely. Jinju and I will wait for you outside. A wave of excruciating pain swept over me, nearly causing me to faint. An old woman urged me on at my ear. Madam, don't lose focus, push, push. I took a deep breath, too overwhelmed to think, and followed the midwife's instructions to focus on giving birth. After an unknown amount of time, the pain had numbed me, and suddenly I heard a loud cry of a baby and the midwife's excited voices. Congratulations to the old lady. Congratulations to the marquis. It's a boy! The matriarch was overjoyed. Quick! Bring the baby out for us to see. Qi Zhao was also delighted. I have a son. After speaking, The two exchanged a glance with the midwives. The midwife received the signal, nodded, and turned toward the room. Jinju, with her sharp eyes, noticed this and, disregarding etiquette, rushed toward the delivery room to protect me. However, she was stopped by the maid standing outside the door and pushed to the ground. Jinju panicked, got up, and tried to rush forward again, but was held down by Qi Zhao and my guards. "What are you doing? I need to go in and see my mistress." Qi Zhao ignored her, staring intently at the delivery room door, hoping the midwife would come out soon to announce my death. It was only a moment later that the midwife emerged from the room, holding the baby. Heaven be praised. Mother and child are safe. Qi Zhao's eyes widened in disbelief, his voice barely audible. "What did you say?" The midwife smiled and repeated, "Congratulations, Lord Qi. Mother and child are safe." Qi Zhao's expression suddenly changed, and he rushed toward the room. Jinju was terrified and struggled to break free from the guards holding her, blocking Qi Zhao's path. "You can't go in." Qi Zhao's face darkened with anger. He didn't even acknowledge her, pushing Jinju aside and striding inside. Suddenly, a commotion erupted outside, and a loud voice cut through the night. "Son-in-law, how is my daughter?" Qi Zhao froze, his foot halting at the threshold. He turned his head stiffly. There stood my father and mother, carrying a pile of gifts, outside the delivery room. "Did I come too late? Has the baby been born?" The scene fell into an awkward silence, until my mother-in-law reacted first, forcing a nervous smile. "You've come just in time, dear. You just gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Mother and child are both safe." She then nudged Qi Zhao with her elbow. Qi Zhao finally managed an awkward smile and took the baby from the midwife. "Father-in-law, mother-in-law, you arrived just in time." Qi Zhao never would have guessed that the letter scheduled to arrive in the capital in 2 days was the ruse my father and I had planned. My father and mother had actually been waiting in the capital for half a month already. My mother walked straight into the delivery room. "I'll go check on you first." Jinju also followed in, crying, with tears still in the corners of her eyes. I held both their hands and gave them a reassuring smile. "Don't worry. Those old women are all bribed by me. They won't do anything to me." Jinju was still crying. "Miss, this is so dangerous. What if they betray you?" "They won't." I shook my head. "No one will offer a higher price than me. I have always adhered to the principle that money can make the devil grind the mill. There is nothing that money cannot do. If there is, it is because the price offered is not high enough. All of Qi Zhao's expenses are paid out of my pocket. If he can use money to bribe the midwives, then I can use money to bribe the midwives he has bribed. In business, the highest bidder wins." By midnight, everyone had dispersed, and Qi Zhao had returned to his own courtyard to sleep. I dismissed the servants and asked my father, who was standing by the bed, "Have you handled the matter I mentioned in my letter?" My father nodded solemnly. "Rest assured, everything has been done as you instructed." He placed his hands over his heart, making a pained expression. "I even had to put up half of our family fortune." I smiled helplessly. My father was truly adorable. Months ago, I had written a letter to my father, informing him that the national treasury was empty and the border wars were urgent. I asked him to collaborate with wealthy merchants from Jianghuai under the pretext of contributing to the nation to raise funds, purchase provisions and cotton clothing, and send them to the border. Although he didn't understand why I was asking him to do this, he followed my instructions and did it well. I gave him a thumbs up. "General Wu Wei has already defeated the enemy forces. Your half of the family fortune was well spent. To prevent the Qi family from taking advantage of my weakness during my postpartum period, my father and mother decided to stay behind to take care of me personally, which greatly displeased my mother-in-law. She adopted the heir of a noble lady from the Marquis's mansion, openly and secretly criticizing our merchant family for being petty and refusing to leave the Marquis's mansion. Fortunately, my father and mother were not the type to take such insults to heart, so they pretended not to hear. As for Qi Zhao's side, Lin Wanbai heard that I had given birth safely and assumed that Qi Zhao would abandon her, so she threatened to hang herself. I have no idea what methods Qi Zhao used to calm her down. I had no time to worry about such matters, immersing myself in the rare moments of family reunion. Unfortunately, time flew by, and the 1-month period soon came to an end. At parting, my mother clung to my sleeve with tear-filled eyes. I don't know when we'll meet again. I hugged her back, gently patting her back and whispered, "Mother, trust me. It won't be too long." 2 months later, I was pregnant again. This child was also thanks to Lin Wanbai. If she hadn't been arguing with Qi Zhao recently, he wouldn't have come to my courtyard every time he was drunk. My mother-in-law was overjoyed upon hearing the news. Convinced that I was a fertile woman, she approached Qi Zhao to discuss allowing me to continue having children and marrying Lin Wanbai as a concubine. Jin Zhu overheard the conversation and rushed to inform me while I was practicing calligraphy. After hearing her report, I didn't even bother to look up. Lin Wanbai won't agree. She's not the same as the other concubines, and she's not as good as the other wives. Sure enough, that night, one of Qi Zhao's servants came to report secretly. He said that Lin Wanbai firmly refused and once again threatened him with the debt of saving his life. As expected, Qi Zhao once again gave in, swearing that he would kill me after the child was born. But he underestimated a woman's jealousy. Lin Wanbai was certain that Qi Zhao would not kill me, so she took matters into her own hands. On the day General Wu Wei returned to the capital, the streets were deserted. I was among the crowd watching. Originally, I had cleared the area and was watching from the second floor of an inn. As the horses passed by, someone shouted, "The second floor has a good view. Let's go up there." A crowd rushed past the guards and surged forward. In the chaos, Lin Wanbai, who had followed the crowd, accidentally bumped into me. I instinctively stumbled forward, my stomach colliding with the railing, and I screamed in pain as I fell straight down from the second floor. Jin Zhu's eyes widened in horror as she reached out to grab me but failed to catch me. I closed my eyes, waiting for the excruciating pain to come. But I felt myself being caught by something, and the pain I had imagined did not come. I opened my eyes and saw a face covered in a thick beard. It was General Wu Wei. He was about to put me back on the ground, but saw that my body was curled up and my face was contorted in pain. "It hurts. My stomach. It hurts." Jin Zhu, who had already run downstairs, pushed through the crowd and hurriedly took me from the general's hands. "Jin Zhu, the child. Save my child." In just a moment, my face had turned pale. Jin Zhu looked at my skirt and saw a patch of bright red. Her voice was trembling with tears. "Is there a doctor here who can save Our Lady? She is Lady Chuyu, the wife of the Marquis of Yongnan." General Wu Wei looked at Jin Zhu. "Who did you say she was?" Jin Zhu was crying so hard her face was streaked with tears. "Lady Chuyu, the wife of the Marquis of Yongnan." The world spun around me, and I was held in someone's arms. The pain was so intense that I fainted. When I woke up again, I was in the Marquis's mansion. Jin Zhu was crying so hard her eyes were red and swollen. She told me that General Wu Wei had personally brought me back. I looked beside me. My mother-in-law's eyes were filled with disappointment, and my husband's face was complex. The attending physician shook his head and sighed. "The lady just gave birth and is already pregnant again. The miscarriage has severely damaged her body. It will likely be difficult for her to conceive again in the future." These words were like a thunderclap, leaving me stunned for a moment before I could come to my senses. Grasping Qi Zhao's sleeve, I spoke bitterly. "Husband, It was my cousin. It was Lin Wanbai who pushed me down. She killed our child. A flash of guilt crossed Qi Zhao's face. But it vanished quickly. Ah, you. You must be losing your mind. There were so many people there. How could it have been Wanbai? You lost our child today, you must be heartbroken. I'll have the doctor prescribe some calming herbs for you. Rest well. I felt as though I had been struck by lightning and slowly released his sleeve. I lay back, dazed and disoriented. Of course. I had forgotten that Qi Zhao and Lin Wanbai were as close as brothers. Why would he blame Lin Wanbai for me? Anyway, he already has a son. Losing this child is no big deal. As night fell, Qi Zhao brought over a bowl of medicine. Ah, you. This is the doctor's new calming medicine. It will help nourish your body. I looked at him mockingly. Just to nourish my body? Qi Zhao paused. Then spoke softly. Drink it. You'll feel better soon. I laughed. And as I laughed, tears streamed down my face. I picked up the bowl and drank it all in one gulp. All my schemes had come to nothing. In the end, I was just working for someone else's benefit. Qi Zhao tucked the blanket around me. His eyes filled with reluctance. From now on, I'll drink the medicine with you every day. Ah, you. I turned away and refused to look at him. The night passed in silence. Qi Zhao boasted of being a man of his word. And since my miscarriage, he had accompanied me every day to drink the medicine. But I was too heartbroken. Bowl after bowl of medicine went down my throat. Yet my body showed no signs of improvement. Instead, I became increasingly drowsy, spending most of the day in a hazy, dreamlike state. Jinju noticed something was wrong and tried to send a message to her parents. But she was scolded and confined to my courtyard. My child was also taken away by my mother-in-law, under the pretext of avoiding the illness. About a month later, the area outside the door became bustling. Painters and carpenters came to the Marquis's mansion to work, and the neighboring courtyard also began repairs. I asked Jinju, "Why is it so noisy outside?" Jinju lowered her head and covered her lips, saying nothing. But I understood. Are they preparing the courtyard for Lin Wanbai? She's coming to marry here, isn't she? Jinju closed her eyes and finally nodded. I sighed, turned over, and continued sleeping. Let them gloat for a few more days. 2 days later, the gates of the Jinsho courtyard were suddenly pushed open with great force. A woman dressed in a pale yellow embroidered robe burst in. It was Lin Wanbai. She looked at me lying sickly on the bed, leaning over the bedside with a smug smile. Chu Yu. So what if you married Zhao Gu? So what if you had a child? He still loves me. You probably don't know that Zhao Gu drugged you so he could marry me. You won't live much longer. And your child will call me mother. I looked at her and sneered. I was right that day. You can only marry someone else as a second wife. What good is it that you married Qi Zhao? You still can't have children. Do you think, years later, when you can't bear children, Qi Zhao will blame you for killing his second child? Lin Wanbai. Sins committed by heaven may be forgiven, but sins committed by oneself cannot be forgiven. Lin Wanbai, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, instantly bristled. Even at the brink of death, you still dare to speak so boldly. Chu Yu, these words of yours are best left for the king of hell to hear. After speaking, she stood up, towering over me, and sneered. Look at yourself. You truly resemble a stray dog. I closed my eyes, unwilling to look at her anymore. Then you'd better be careful. A stray dog's counterattack might be more than you can handle. Jinju, escort her out. After Lin Wanbai left, Qi Zhao arrived shortly afterward. He walked in holding the last bowl of medicine. Ah, you. It's time to take your medicine. I looked at the blackish liquid in the bowl and asked, Husband, If I drink this, will I never wake up again? Qi Zhao turned away. His expression pained. Saying nothing. His expression spoke volumes. I sighed. Never mind. Never mind. I picked up the bowl and drank it all in one gulp. Qi Zhao tried to stop me, but his lips trembled a few times before he said nothing. I smiled bitterly at him and picked up the tea on the table to offer it to him. The zither strings are broken. The mirror is cracked. The morning dew has dried. The fragrant season has passed. The white-haired lament echoes. Parting is painful. Eat well and do not think of me. The Jin River flows endlessly. Today, Ayu uses tea instead of wine to bid you farewell forever. Upon hearing these words, Qi Zhao shed tears and, without thinking, picked up the tea on the table and drank it in one gulp. Before he could say anything, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. The tea is poisoned. Under his shocked gaze, I slowly stood up, glaring at him. There was no trace of illness left. Husband, how does it feel to be poisoned by the person you trust most? He clutched his chest, gasping for breath. Someone. I interrupted him. Don't bother. Everyone in this Jinsho garden is my person. No. The entire Marquis mansion is my person. You poisonous woman. Qi Zhao glared at me furiously. You've been faking all of this. I smiled at him. Yes. I did. Surprised? Unexpected? Do you really think you're the master of this Marquis mansion? The midwife you bribed. The servants by your side. The doctor who treated me, they're all my people. I knelt down, watching his agonized expression. He struggled desperately but couldn't muster the strength to stand up. Seeing his comical efforts to survive, I knelt down beside him. Husband. Do you know why I married into the Marquis mansion to bear you a son? It wasn't just because you coveted my Chu family's wealth, I also coveted your Marquis title. Oh. And I almost forgot to tell you, the second child was fake. To create an opportunity to frame you. I went to great lengths. Spending a fortune to buy those fake pregnancy pills and deliberately inducing a miscarriage to set you up. You're not ruthless enough. Even such a simple task couldn't be done in one blow. Don't blame me for being heartless. He glared at me with hatred, gasping for breath, unable to speak, and fainted. I looked at him with disgust and ordered someone to carry him away. That night, someone saw Qi Zhao leave my room and walk out of the mansion with a smug expression. He even went to a tavern to drink happily and meet up with Lin Wanbai. The next day, when my mother-in-law saw me standing before her unharmed, she was so shocked she nearly dropped her jaw. I bowed respectfully to my mother-in-law. Mother, how are you? The medicine my husband gave you last night really worked, you're completely cured. The mother-in-law looked skeptical, stumbled to my courtyard, searched everywhere, and returned. Where is Qi Zhao? My husband left last night, saying he had a case to handle. Impossible, the mother-in-law shouted. Where did you hide him? Just then, a servant stumbled over, shouting, Bad news. Lady! Lady! The Marquis. He's in trouble. Qi Zhao was dead. He had died during his secret meeting with Lin Wanbai. On the bed they had set up outside the courtyard. The doctor confirmed it was sudden death. When my mother-in-law and I arrived, the two of them were still on the bed, their clothes disheveled. The mother-in-law, upon seeing her husband's stiff body, coughed up blood and fainted. The Earl's family also arrived, and the guards from both families surrounded the courtyard, leaving no room to move. Lin Wanbai, upon seeing me, her eyes reddened, and she lunged at me fiercely. It's you! It must be you. You killed Zhao Gu. The Earl's wife, unable to bear the shame, grabbed her. Keep your voice down. Do you think you're doing yourself any favors? I threw myself onto my husband and wailed. Husband, what am I supposed to do now that you've left me a widow with a child? I cried until I could barely breathe. Lin Wanbai tried to rush over again but was slapped by the countess, who stopped her. She then buried her face in the bedding and wept. Her dreams were shattered. I pretended to be deeply grieved and cried for a while before gradually calming down. I looked at the two on the bed with a choked voice, closed my eyes, and looked determined. Since it has already happened and my husband is gone, but he was with my cousin before he died. They must have been deeply in love. Could my cousin marry him in a posthumous marriage to fulfill your wishes? What? The countess was the first to refuse. Terrified. No. Lin Wanbai had also regained some clarity and screamed. He's dead. I won't marry you. It was you who killed Zhao Gu. I was drugged the moment I entered the courtyard yesterday. Zhao Gu. Look. This is the woman you loved. She won't even mourn you. Yet you lost your life for her. I wiped away my tears in sorrow and exclaimed. Cousin. Don't twist the truth. Yesterday. I was resting at home. Everyone on the street saw your husband and you come to this courtyard. Could it be that I forced you both here? Lin Wanbai's hair was disheveled, and she looked like a madwoman. I know now. The letter yesterday was written by you. Zhao Gu. Slap. The countess slapped her again. Shut up. She then turned to me. Her eyes filled with pleading. Lady of the Marquis of Yolin. How do you intend to handle this? The Earl's death while having an affair with the Earl's daughter would be disastrous for both families. The best course of action was to settle the matter quietly and swallow the humiliation. At least, that was how the Earl's family saw it. Of course. That was also my intention. In the end, the Earl's mansion compensated the Marquis mansion with a sum of money and secretly took the body back. As for me, I mournfully arranged Qi Zhao's funeral. It is worth mentioning that there were too many people present that day. Despite both families' efforts to keep it secret, the news spread like wildfire, becoming the biggest scandal of the year in the entire capital. Lin Wanbai could no longer endure the strange glances and whispers from all sides, and eventually took her own life out of shame and anger. As for me, I became the pitiful woman everyone talked about, with the common people all sympathizing with me. My mother-in-law also fainted that day and never regained consciousness. I had to handle her funeral arrangements alone, which only made everyone pity me even more. As a widow with an orphan son, guarding a vast fortune and the Grand Marquis's mansion, it was easy for others to covet us. Just as everyone was speculating whether I would be mistreated by other noble families, the mighty general suddenly stepped forward, took me as his adopted sister, and my son became his adopted son. From then on, no one dared to set their sights on the Marquis's mansion. My son is now the crown prince, and once he comes of age, he will inherit the title. During the New Year's season, my parents came to visit me from the Jianghuai region. Seeing that I had managed the Marquis's mansion with such efficiency, they couldn't help but praise me. You truly are your father's pride. Every step you take is well calculated. Someone knocked on the door. It was the mighty general and his wife paying a visit. The general's wife took my hand. Dear sister, we owe you so much. If it weren't for you collaborating with the wealthy merchants to supply the general with enough provisions, the outcome of that battle would have been uncertain. I smiled and held her hand. It was my foster brother's skill that allowed him to protect the borders and safeguard the region. From that day onward, everything was settled. The end.